That's perfect. All right, so since it's NFP today, I was thinking maybe we could look at or pairs that are actually affected by NFP. So let's say gold, pound USD, and USD card. Yeah, those ones. So we have from what we talked about on gold yesterday. This is our gold. We were expecting it to create ocean. We were expecting it to create structure around, see it, stay around this level, right? Or technically this high, but then since it created a low right here, we're going to put the low right here. And then we were saying if it does create structure right here, right, it might push up to this level, right? So that it can then push down. So I'm thinking since price has been slowly pushing up and sort of creating structure, not the best structure, but it is sort of creating structure, and it has been pushing up, right? So I'm thinking if it does keep pushing up, news is in 30 minutes either way. So I'm thinking I would set my sell limits around this area because but then that's the thing. If USD is positive, right, if the news comes out positive, we might see if the just give me a second. All right, if the news is positive, right, we should have seen price pushing lower, no, actually pushing higher. So that means it could wick up, right, and then push lower. But if the news is we need positive news for USD for gold to push lower, and we need negative USD news for gold to push up, right? So I'm thinking since price has been here the whole day, right? If it wanted to push higher, we should have seen price pushing higher a long time ago. If price was to go down, we should have seen pushing it higher, but then it didn't. And if it was going to go up during news, right, we should have seen price pushing lower, but it didn't. So I'm thinking since this is the nearest resistance that we're at, right, and if we check our daily, it did try punch into it, right? So I would say since it's rejecting it, and most likely it will reject, and if the news does come out positive, right, I'm thinking price will probably wick up and then push lower. So even if you don't want to set your sell limit, right, just to be careful, right, I would watch price pushing up, wick up, right, and then your first entry, if you miss this entry and you want to be on a much safer place, right, your first entry could be at this support when price closes below this support, right? But if you really want to be careful, right, then you would be waiting for price to close below this support, and then you can trade it all the way down, because the moment it closes below this support, it's most likely going to fall to retest this area, because we said for it to go higher, it has to retest this area. For it to break this resistance, it has to retest this area. But what's funny is it's almost news, right? And this is the only time that price is actually trying to push lower. So if this is the only time that price is trying to push lower, right, it's most likely that we might get a push up when news comes out. So we could get maybe a week down and then a push up. So let's say for someone who wants to be careful, I would not suggest buy limits or even the sell limits. I wouldn't suggest that. I would actually suggest people wait, because with the way it's now trying to push lower, even if we go on the 1 hour time frame, 1 minute time frame, right? You see these candles, right? These big candles, right? If price wanted to make this drop, right, it should have made this drop early in the morning, but then it's only giving us this big candle so that people panic and start selling. That's what's happening right now. So that can only tell me that high chances price could wick down and then at the end of the day push up, push higher. So let's say buy limits. If price does come all the way down, if price does come all the way down to this level, right, without us entering, then that means we're just entering the buys. We're not going to be with price to come all the way down. We'll just enter the buys and push price higher. That's very likely. Do you guys have questions?
I have one.
Yes.
So if we would trade the news right now, which time frame is it best to look at?
That's a very good question. I would say, well, we look at the 1 hour time frame to see what's the most likely direction that price is going to go, right? But then the best thing when you're trading news is if price was giving you some sort of a movement before news, because right now it ranged, right? So we can't really go on the lower time frames to check which direction can we actually enter. If it had been giving us let's say a drop before news, right, then we know price will wick this area when news comes out to push price up, right? So I would say before news comes out, I would look at the 1 hour time frame just to see the structure that we have. So we know that on the 1 hour time frame, we need to see a retest right here, right? Then after the retest, price can push higher. But then now we know that since price didn't give us the push down, what the chances are now there that price could wick up and then push price lower. So when news comes out, I would go, let's say maybe on the 30-minute time frame or even the 15-minute time frame, depending on how much volume there is. So if the markets are moving very fast, right, the 15-minute time frame is fine because all you want is for price to close below this low for it to drop. But then for it to drop after it closes below this low, right, we want to see a wick up first. If there is no wick up and price is just pushing lower, that's okay, but that's a little bit risky because it could create a low and then reverse and push up. But then if it does wick up to this level or even somewhere close to this level and then start dropping, I would enter, let's say when it closes 15-minute time frame, when it closes below this low, or when it closes below this low. So if it's not that fast, right, then I would actually watch the 30-minute time frame, because if it's not fast, that means the news didn't have that much impact, right? That means price can take any direction, or it can even stay in one position the same way it did during London opening. It could just do that, right? So I would watch the 30-minute time frame to see, okay, is price trying to close below or is it pushing higher? If it does push higher, I would watch this high very carefully, because look at this. Just give me a second. Stay, sit, stay. All right, sorry. If price, or I was saying, if we look at this high, right, remember price needs to break two resistances for it to be in a bullish trend, right? So if we are to look at this structure right here, this is the daily structure. Price broke the trend, right? It was in a downtrend and then it broke the first resistance, which was this one, for it to go higher. It broke this resistance, right? And then this is our second resistance for us to say, okay, we are now officially in a bullish trend. So if news was to push price down, then this might have been the reason why they pushed price up yesterday, for it to reach this level, right, and then push lower. Because if price was going to push higher during news today, right, we should have seen price dropping to retest and then push higher during news. But then since it hasn't and it tried reaching the next resistance, our final resistance, right, that means price is high chances of dropping. So I would say watch the 30-minute time frame. 1 hour time frame for a late entry, it will be a late entry unless if it does retest. But 30-minute time frame if it's slow, and 15-minute time frame if markets are moving fast. but you need to watch price close below. If price is bullish, right, and then it just starts shooting up, don't trade, don't enter. I would not enter, because high chances it will fake the breakout, right, and then next week price crashes. So you might enter a good trade, right, something that looks like a good trade, and then it just wicks up and then it comes back and then it starts playing around this range. So I wouldn't enter just like that. I would wait. If price starts pushing up and it doesn't come back into this area, please don't enter, because I'm not that confident with bullish buyers on gold. It's not making sense for the fact that price stayed in this range. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
All right. Let's do pound USD. All right. Now pound USD from yesterday, our zones are still fine. The top one is still very much fine. It's still being respected. This, I think, no, this is not the one that I told you to put. I think it's the one that I actually told you to put yesterday, and it's still valid for the fact that if you see price did a weak fill, right, it did a weak fill right here, right, and then it created a low here, but then price pushed up and then it created a low right here. So now we have, for price to be in a downtrend, for it to reach this low, price is to close below this low, the second low. So the zones are still very much valid. Maybe we can just move. I really don't appreciate the zones I'm cutting through other areas where it's not supposed to. This is the zone that we're acting with, right? So I would say the good thing about pound USD is it actually did a better job than gold, in the sense that during London, early London, right, it pushed up and then it pushed down. So the range is still there, but then the thing is it did a somewhat of a good push down. So that could tell us possibly news might push price higher. So I would watch news and wait for price to close above this area. But then it gets tricky, because remember the news that came out yesterday for pound USD, and we've analyzed it before, and we've even talked about how it always comes out positive. The news, the interest rates for pound USD, it always brings a bullish move in the markets. And considering that it happened yesterday and price did not break this high, right, it shows us that chances are there price could push high. Maybe today's news might be the one that makes price break, but I would say it's going to push price lower. High chances it might push price lower, for the fact that if we are to look at the weekly candle, this is our weekly candle, right? Sorry about this one. Let me enlarge it. This is the weekly candle, right? You see the weekly candle, it's the whole week from Monday to Thursday it was bullish, and then Friday it dropped, which created this bearish candle, right? What are the chances that it might do the same thing today? Because right now it's ranging between these two areas, and it looks like it was just trying to do a weak fill for last week's candle. So I would say watch price, right? Don't enter the moment price starts printing. If you want to be in a risky position, you can enter if it's falling. I would prefer sales than bullishness in this market, because of last week's candle, right? That's one. Two, if it wanted to go up, it should have by now. It should have broken that resistance, especially yesterday, because of that news. It always comes out bullish, and it did come out bullish, but price didn't push higher. So that resistance looks like it's sticking. And if we look at yesterday's daily candle, it closed bearish. Today's candle did a weak fill and rejected the resistance. So we should see price dropping. So I would say if price does start printing bullishness, right? If you see when news comes out, if you see it printing bullish candles, right? Just watch, just wait. As long as it rejects this high, price will drop. So all you need for price to do, right, is to retest this high. If it does give us the bullish power, after it retests, if it rejects it, you can enter. The higher chances that it will push all the way down here. But if you want to enter a big position, I would only enter a big position if price closes below this low. But looking at the weekly candle and the daily, yesterday's daily candle, we should see price pushing lower. But this is our final confirmation. So news can play around in this area, but you could enter a sell here, or you wait for price to close below and then push price lower. Even if you see price breaking above this area, right, just wait. It might just be coming to test this high to complete the weak fill and then push price lower. That's the first high that we're saying, okay, if price is gonna try and weak and fool people around, right? That's the week that we're looking at. If we check the 4-hour time frame, possibly price will reach this area, possibly. But if it breaks above this area, if it closes above this area, we could see price pushing all the way up, but I don't think so. I just don't think so. They wouldn't give us the bearish pressure that they've been giving us since yesterday just to push price higher today when the last week's candle is pushing price lower. Yeah. Any questions?
Nope, but I've actually been holding a sell since yesterday and it's been at a loss. So I'm just waiting for the news to see what's gonna happen.
Where did you enter?
Yesterday, I'm not sure what time.
No, I mean the price.
Oh, my MetaTrader isn't opening right now because of the internet connection, but I'll check.
All right, that's good. But then if it's not too far, if it's, let's say, maybe if you entered somewhere around this area, that's all right, you could hold. But I don't like that price pushed lower just before news. That could push price higher when news comes out. But I highly doubt that we could see a strong bullish move when news comes out. I highly doubt that. It's possible, but I highly doubt that.
Mm.
I remember the other pair was Euro USD.
Yeah, the sell limit was hit.
It did actually do exactly what we discussed, because we said we want price to reach this area, right? If it does manage to, it can wick up and then drop. So it actually did what we were expecting it to do. So now I would say, since news is about to come, right, I don't really care about the bullishness of it. I just don't like that price pushed lower just before news. Remember, when news is about to happen, right, they will not push price higher for them to push price higher during news, because they want to enter at a better price and then push it in that direction. So if they are pushing it lower now, I would say maybe they are buying at a better price for them to push it higher. That's why I would say this news is a little bit tricky, so I wouldn't enter before it happens. I would wait to see what they are trying to do. Maybe they know now, we know their tricks, you never know. But right now I would say price, if it was normal market conditions, we would say price broke out, right? This candle broke out, this one is retesting. As long as it does not close below, it's retesting. So now what we're going to do, right, is, since there's still 30 minutes till the 4-hour candle closes, right, we'll see what news does when it opens. And if it does push higher, let's see how the 4-hour candle closes. If the 4-hour candle closes, right, and it closes, let's say below this low, then price would definitely push lower. This is the first low it has to break for it to push lower. This would be your final confirmation for price to push lower. So yeah, I would say that. And then for you to push higher, if the 4-hour candle closes above this high, then price will most likely reach this high. I mean, that's for risk for people who really want to enter the trade, but I wouldn't. Market conditions are not that pretty right now. But yeah, let's see what USD card is doing. Maybe it has some information. Okay, this is USD card. Do you know the thing with USD card, right? If you want to trade USD card that successfully, I would only look for sell setups. Because even if we go on the monthly time frame, right, it hasn't seen a bullish candle for the past 3 months now. So if you are trading USD card, I would say look for sell setups. If you are looking for buy setups, they really need to be short buys. So we have a low on this low, right? And if it breaks this low, price would definitely fall all the way to the next low, which is around this area. I would say first this area, but yes. So since we have this low and price has been pushing lower the whole day, that's also another thing that I don't like, is that price has been pushing lower on USD card. So the question is it USD or is it card that was pushing? Oh, actually it's pushing higher. So is it USD or is it card that's making it push higher? That's the question. So let's say we have a high at this area, right? We have a low at this area. I would say 50% retracement should be around this area if we measured from this area to this area, right? And then 61.8 should be, let's say 61.8 should be this one, and then this should be 50% possibly. But it doesn't really have much structure for us to like go on. But since it's been pushing up, right, I would say possibly high chances it could fall during news. But then remember, there's also card news. So for USD card, it's a little bit tricky because there's both card and USD news. So it might do the up and down in the same range as it normally does. Actually, that actually does normally do that. So I'll actually if you want to trade USD card, right, don't trade USD card now. Wait for the 5 o'clock news and then trade that. Ooh, it's happening. Price is pushing higher. Is it news now? I think so. But yeah, price is pushing higher. So I would say just wait. Don't do anything. Let it push higher. Pushing higher nicely. The same thing with USD. Exactly what we said it would do. It pushed higher. It could keep pushing higher, but I'm not going to enter. I wouldn't enter. I mean, it was obvious that it was going to push higher. That's why it pushed lower before news. Oh, so there is your proof. It did push lower before news, and then during news it pushed higher. So since this is a very strong resistance, right, I would wait for the first 15-minute candle to close. If it closes above, I'll wait for the 30-minute candle. Or if I think it's gonna keep on going higher, right? Let's say if the 30-minute candle, let's say the 30-minute candle closes somewhere above this area, right? I would try entering on retest. I wouldn't enter the moment it's printing. I would wait for the retest. So if pound USD is pushing higher, then we should see Euro USD pushing higher also. Let's check. Yes, it did do that. It's pushing higher. So I would say probably targeting this high first. If it breaks out that high, I mean, for people who want to enter, you could enter, but I wouldn't. Better to wait for the first 15-minute candle. If the first 15-minute candle does not close in the areas that we need price to close in, then I would rather wait for the 30-minute candle. And if it's not retest, if it keeps on pushing without retesting, then I would not enter at all. I'll wait for Monday. You guys have any questions? I'm guessing no. It's very interesting. Ooh, okay, it's pushing high. No questions?
No, I don't have any.
Okay.
But it's really interesting to watch though. It's just like spiking up so fast.
Yeah, but yes, even the more the another something to consider, right? Like look at our pound pushed up, right? But pound yen isn't pushing up. So now we know it's only USD that's making pound USD push higher. So that's like one of the main reasons why I wouldn't enter. Because what if pound USD does what he wanted to do now, right? And then comes back and closes below? Because pound yen is telling us that price shouldn't be pushing higher. Because right now pound yen is only acting based on pound, right? I can say yen is sort of contributing it in pound yen if you consider gold. You know how yen and gold are self-having currencies. So since gold is pushing higher, I would say probably maybe that's why it's pushing higher now. But if we check pound card, it's pushing higher. So that could say card came out weak. The news came out weak, possibly. It's a possibility. We could say USD is making USD card move lower. Because if card came out weak, right? Why is USD dropping? Then that means USD news is very weak. But then remember, USD card normally does the up and down during the first news now, and then at 5 o'clock, that's when you get a very nice move. So I wouldn't trade USD card now. I'd wait for 5 o'clock with the next card news. I think it's at 5 o'clock. I'm not sure, but later. And then if you check USD, reached the next high very nicely. So I would want, if price is going to continue going higher, right? We would want to see price closing above this area. If it does close above, then yes, we could see price pushing higher. But if it doesn't, at least if it closes above this area, right, and then price comes to retest, then we can expect price to keep pushing higher. Right now, we need to see price closing above on this 30-minute candle, or this 30-minute candle. It needs to close above this area and then come for the retest, and then we can take price higher. Let's check gold. Beautiful. It went up, but can it close up? It could close higher. I mean, that's very much possible with gold, but I would still not enter. I wouldn't enter. Because if it does keep on pushing higher now, there are chances that it could just drop during card news. And there are also chances that it could keep on pushing higher during card news. But I would want to play with the odds. I would rather wait for Monday and trade it all the way back, because if it's giving us clean traffic now, it can come back down using that clean traffic. So it's a win-win situation. We can let it create the clean traffic now so that we can use it later. But I would say if price does not come down today, right, next week price will definitely come back to retest this area. If it doesn't, then at some point it will. I would say that. Yes, any questions? If you guys, let's say for those who really want to enter a trade, right, and you find USD, pound USD continuing to push higher, right, you can look out for a buy on pound yen. Let me move this up here, and then this, let's delete that, and then we put a high right here, and yeah, I'll put this low right here, and then this low. We can put this low right here. All right, but then you see how pound yen is dropping, right? It had all the chances to push higher, but it's dropping. So if you miss, if let's say pound USD keeps going higher, right, and then you want to enter, I would say enter when pound yen closes above this area only. Right now it has strong bearish pressure. Maybe if we go on the smaller time frames, okay, if you are looking on the 50-minute time frame, if it closes above this area, then you can enter. But if it doesn't close below that area, high chances it will keep dropping. High chances it might keep dropping. But yeah, pound yen would be a much better pair to enter than pound USD. I wouldn't enter anything. I mean, it might be reacting to pound, to gold because of yen, since they are both safe haven currencies. That means yen is strong right now, even though it's not on. So it might be reacting to that. But what's interesting for me is that pound USD isn't going any further up, because if news is that strong, right, we should be seeing a move that continues. But if it's not and it's still here, it's tricky. I will check Euro USD. If you look at Euro USD, right, it's pushing. It's not just stuck in one area. That's what we need pound USD to do. But if it's not, then I would wait for it to come back and close below that area. If it doesn't, at least to retest. At least to retest. But yes, I think that's all. You guys seem to not have any questions. See, it's still in the same area. If you want to enter, let's just wait for the 4-hour candle to close. If it closes above like this, that's a little bit better. But for you to enter, you have to wait for it to come back and retest for it to push higher. And I would even say when it retests, you might want it to retest. Let me show you the area that you want it to retest this area. If it comes back and retests this area only, that's also fine, but it has to stay above. But if it comes back and closes back in the range, I wouldn't be looking for buys until it rejects this area, because it could come back and close back in the range and keep dropping. But this is the area that we would want it to come back, retest, reject, and then push higher. So it's a very tricky situation. It could happen either way. It could happen either way. Any questions? No questions? Okay. I think that's it for today. I'll keep checking to see what happens. If it does come back and close back in the range, I will let you know. Or if it doesn't, I'll let you know what to do if you guys are looking for a trade.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
Have a good day as well. Thank you. Bye.